tonight, signaling an end to the shutdown.
We cannot let the cure be worse than the problem itself.
Even as the American death toll rises.
We are in a crisis.
With a deal in the works as Congress wrestles with the best way to help Americans.
I don't know why it's taking us so long to come to agreement on that.
And
it's absolutely critical.
As countries around the world grapple with the pandemic circling the globe, the race for the White House goes virtual.
This isn't about politics.
As the coronavirus contaminates the campaign trail. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. President Trump says he wants the nation up and running again by Easter. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm Jenna Browder. The president offering some hope tonight in the midst of the coronavirus crisis. At the same time, though, more Americans are being told not to leave their homes. Stay-at-home orders have now been announced in 17 states. That means only leaving your home for essentials like groceries. Right now, more than 163 million Americans are being told to stay home. This as the number of COVID-19 cases continues to climb. The World Health Organization says the U.S. has the potential to become the new epicenter of the pandemic. Over 46,000 cases have been confirmed in the states, but that number is likely much higher due to delays in testing. Meanwhile, the clock is ticking for lawmakers. Tonight, they're hoping to push an economic stimulus package across the finish line. Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson joins us with more on that. Abigail?
That's right, Jenna. Both Republican and Democratic Senate leadership have signaled that they could see a vote tonight on that $2 trillion relief bill. And this time, there's bipartisan optimism that they'll actually get it passed.
Today, we can make all of the Washington drama fade away. If we act today, what Americans will remember and what history will record is that the Senate did the right thing.
Negotiations went into late Monday night after the second attempt to pass the bill failed.
We're very close to reaching a deal. Very close.
The big break in the stalemate came when Republicans agreed to include two of the Democrats' top priorities, a Marshall Plan for federal hospitals, which would give them an additional $5 billion to the $75 billion already proposed by Republicans, and stricter oversight in the $500 billion in loans designated to corporations.
I don't think our Republican colleagues would want to give any administration a blank check to spend $500 billion however they want, without any clear safeguards or some process for accountability.
The bill also includes checks for $1,200 made out to many Americans, about $350 billion in loans for small businesses, and $50 billion in relief to the airline industry.
The buzzer is sounding. The hour for bargaining, as though this were business as usual, has expired.
In a tweet Tuesday morning, President Trump encouraged Congress to approve the deal without all of the nonsense today. The longer it takes, the harder it will be to start up our economy. Our workers will be hurt.
While Speaker Pelosi has introduced a House economic stimulus plan that includes many non-starters for Republicans, like a mandatory minimum wage increase for companies that receive aid and mandates for airlines to offset their carbon emissions by 2025, the House is reportedly going to pass whatever bill the Senate passes, and hopefully do so by unanimous consent, which would only require 2 lawmakers to be present on the House floor in order to pass this, meaning they could avoid calling the members back to D.C. Back to you, Jenna.
All right, Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson, thank you very much. Well, hope of the Senate's stimulus plan sent stocks surging today. Since the pandemic began, Wall Street has seen dramatic losses, but today markets made some gains. The Dow Jones ended up the day around 2,000 points. The S&P closed up more than 200 points, and the Nasdaq also ended the day with gains. Well, as we mentioned at the top of the show, the president wants to get America back on its feet by Easter. He made the announcement today at the White House. CBN White House correspondent Ben Kennedy has more on that. Ben?
Well, Jenna, so we're talking about weeks, not months. As you were just mentioning, President Trump wants the country back open by Easter, which is April 12th. That is a very short time away. Then he wants to kind of backtrack on some of the social distancing. He talked about it for more than an hour in the Rose Garden earlier today. Take a listen.
We average 36,000 people, death. I'm not talking about cases, I'm talking about death. 36,000 deaths a year. People die, 36 from the flu. But we've never closed down the country for the flu. So you say to yourself, what is this all about? Our country is not supposed to be, it's not built to shut down. Our people are full of vim and vigor and energy. They don't want to be locked into a house or an apartment or some space. It's not for our country. We're not built that way. And I said, I don't want the cure to be worse than the problem itself, the problem being obviously the problem. And, you can destroy a country this way by closing it down.
And now President Trump does not want that to happen. His administration's 15-day plan to curb the coronavirus does expire next week. Monday is the 15th day. That is when President Trump says he plans to get into serious talks with the coronavirus task force on the best way to approach this, get the economy back on track. He did say he's defending his thinking, pointing to the mortality rate of the coronavirus, which right now is a little more than 1%. And as Abigail was talking about earlier in the show, this phase 3 stimulus package will have a big impact on the economy. More specifically, President Trump said on small businesses. He called small business the backbone of this nation. His chief economic advisor, Larry Kudlow, also faced questions earlier today. He is a member of the coronavirus task force as well. He was asked, is it worth reopening the economy at the expense to the public health? Here's his answer. Take a listen.
Good public health also requires a good economy. And each has its priorities. I get that. It's not either or. It is not either or. The two have to work together.
Now, in today's town hall, President Trump said multiple times, we have to get back to work. So no doubt you can tell that is his thinking moving forward as the country continues to face this outbreak. Jenna?
All right, Ben Kennedy, White House correspondent, thank you very much. Well, to the campaign trail and race for the Democratic nomination. Joe Biden now talking about coronavirus. This week, his campaign is kicking off what they say will be regular updates and commentary from the candidate at his home in Delaware. Biden's first focus on President Trump's handling of the crisis.
Trump keeps saying that he's a wartime president. We'll start to act like one. Let me be clear. Donald Trump is not to blame for the coronavirus, but he does bear responsibility for our response. And I, along with every American, hope he steps up and starts to get this right.
And here now for our Faith Nation political panel, CBN senior Washington correspondent Jennifer Wishon and chief political analyst David Brody. Both of you, good to have you. Jennifer, to you first. We're finally hearing from Joe Biden. Did this prolonged silence hurt him?
I think so, Jenna. The hashtag Where is Joe has been quite popular on Twitter for the past few days. And unfortunately for the vice president, his living room in Wilmington does not carry nearly the same gravitas as the White House briefing room, the White House Rose Garden, et cetera, et cetera. So the president clearly has the daily media advantage now, and that's not good for Team Biden. What he does have to use right now, and what we're already seeing a super PAC using, running ads in battleground states, is using the president's missteps during this crisis against him in ads. So I think that's kind of where the Bidens are probably going to have their most success right now. Probably not these daily briefings from the vice president's living room.
David, it seems Trump has a big decision to make when this 15-day deadline expires. Does the country slowly open back up or not? I mean, he was mentioning Easter and wanting to get everything up to speed at that point. Okay, I think we're having some issues with David's audio, but Jennifer, you and I are still here. Any sense, Jennifer, on the impact coronavirus will have on the general election? Right now, it's really put everything at a standstill and on pause, including the president's massive rallies that he holds.
Yeah, Jenna, he's not able to do that. But make no mistake, every day for this president is a campaign day. The best thing he can do for his chances in November is to do a good job of managing this crisis and getting it under control, trying to stop this virus in its tracks. Another thing that we're really going to have to pay attention to, and this is something that states need to be paying attention to right now, is figuring out how they're going to handle the election come November. We're already seeing a bipartisan push from officials who are saying, Congress, you need to expand the use of mail-in ballots for the general election, because the last thing we want to see happen is another Iowa in the general election, lots of Iowas across the country. And if this virus is still, gripping American society come election time, this is going to be a huge problem. And I think states really have to be focusing on this today.
Yeah. Okay. I think we have David back with us. David, I wanted to ask you about the president and this decision that he faces of opening the country back up again. He's mentioned Easter as a deadline, and that's giving a lot of people hope.
Right. Well, hopefully you can hear me this time. Sometimes it's better when you don't hear me, by the way. I just want to go on record with that. But yes, for sure, this could be the most important decision of Donald Trump's presidency, Jenna, and here's why. If this goes south, if he decides to open the country back up after Easter, and things go horribly wrong from a coronavirus standpoint, from a health standpoint, he will be held directly responsible, and it could cost him the election. So it's a big gamble, but at the same time, wouldn't we all just love to get back to normal business as we do every day? So we'll see, and it looks good on paper, but I think there are political consequences if it doesn't go well.
Just a few seconds left here, but Jennifer, I want to talk about the stimulus plan that Congress is hopefully going to pass. What's your sense on how it will play politically?
Yeah, well, I think it's going to play very well politically, Jenna, if and when Americans actually start to feel it. And I think something we have to take into consideration, we heard Ben Kennedy mention this earlier, 99.9% of the businesses in America are small businesses, and most of those are individuals who are running them. They don't have sick days. They don't have packages to fall back on. They don't have vacation time to fall back on, or they're trying to, if they have 1 or 2 employees, they're trying to keep them on the payroll. So those people really need to feel the effects of this. If they do, this will be very successful.
All right, David and Jennifer, we have to leave it there. Thank you both. We'll be right back.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
I think as a father, it's my job, to lead, just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Well, it's official. The 2020 Summer Olympics will be postponed, the latest in a series of unprecedented worldwide responses to the deadly coronavirus outbreak. CBN News national security correspondent Eric Phillips joins us with more. Eric?
Well, Jenna, a warning from the World Health Organization states that the U.S. could be the next epicenter of the outbreak. And while there's no lockdown expected here in the United States yet, several states have made that move, joining many other parts of the world.
After much debate, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe officially announcing that the 2020 Olympic Games will be postponed. Abe said taking this action and allowing them to be played later in complete form will illustrate human victory against the coronavirus. But for now, the war rages on across the globe. Tuesday, India locking down the entire country to hopefully stave off the virus as its neighbor Pakistan does the same. Monday, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced much tighter restrictions on when residents can come and go.
I think we already thought that that was going to happen, and I feel slightly relieved that we're not going on complete lockdown. You know, people can still go outside of their houses.
A cruise ship in Italy has been transformed to handle coronavirus patients amid its ongoing lockdown as hospitals burst at the seams. Italy now ranks #1 in highest number of confirmed cases. Spain quickly catching up with more than 6,500 new cases Tuesday, a day after receiving an emergency shipment of protective face masks from Toulouse, France to Madrid. Workers in Madrid busy setting up a field hospital that will house 5,500 beds. And in another disturbing development, European authorities using a sting operation against criminals looking to peddle counterfeit drugs and medical equipment online during this pandemic.
More than 4.4 million units of illicit pharmaceuticals were seized worldwide. 37 organized crime groups were dismantled. 121 arrests were made.
The Pope praying for medical professionals getting sick and dying while caring for those with the virus. In the U.S., New York Governor Andrew Cuomo saying the trend of the disease in his hard-hit state is rising faster than expected and more hospital beds will be needed than estimated. Cuomo adding, ventilators are desperately needed because of the state's resources being tapped. On the encouraging side, China has relaxed some restrictions and more stories of recovery are being shared, like one of this London-based doctor who contracted COVID-19 in New York earlier this month.
I never felt breathless and I never for one moment thought I was going to die. Now, I'm now well past the infective period. I went back to work yesterday and I'm going back to work today to help with my colleagues. And, you know, you can get through this. We can get through to the other side.
The Italian man known as patient #1 has been released from the hospital after spending 18 days in ICU on a respirator. And he is sending a message to the world saying, you can get over this illness. Some encouraging words, Jenna, as we're facing this outbreak day in and day out.
Yeah, and such a great message of hope. All right, Derek, thank you. In Israel, more than 1,500 cases of coronavirus cases have been reported. 3 people have died, among them an 88-year-old Holocaust survivor. And as the number of cases continues to grow, Israelis may soon see even tighter lockdown restrictions. Here's CBN's Chris Mitchell from Jerusalem.
With the virus spreading, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government is on the verge of implementing stricter rules to limit the movement of Israelis with greater enforcement. Currently, the government says Israelis must remain at home, with the exceptions for buying food, medical supplies, or seeking medical treatment. In its battle to fight COVID-19, Israel also opened its first drive-through test center.
We're going to start today with 300 real citizens that will come, and we'll take the swabs from them, and 300 citizens today, 300 tomorrow, and later on this week we're going to increase the amount of swabs to around 1,000 swabs.
Israel's rescue service Magen David Adom expects to open up additional centers this week. Israeli police are increasing enforcement and using 3 different databases to keep track of those in quarantine.
We have enough information, knowing the addresses, knowing the phone numbers, knowing where individuals came back into Israel, how long time they have to stay in quarantine, and that law they have to abide to. It's absolutely critical.
The health ministry said if Israelis follow the rules, Israel may see results in about 10 days. Like people around the world, Israelis are also looking for creative ways to deal with the coronavirus restrictions. This opera singer comes by day to serenade her father during his 14-day quarantine.
I was driving by with my son on the bicycle, and then I said to him, let's say hello to Grandma and Grandpa, who are in quarantine. And then I said, why won't we just sing a serenade to them, just like Grandpa sang to Grandma when they were young?
Being at home alone for 14 days is extremely difficult. And knowing that next morning your daughter will come and sing for you makes my day.
In the meantime, Israel's government remains a house divided. So far, blue and white leader Benny Gantz has refused Benjamin Netanyahu's offer of a national unity emergency government. Outside of the Knesset, hundreds of Israelis protested Netanyahu because the new parliament is not yet in session. While in a full-page ad in the Jerusalem Post, former Israel Defense Forces soldiers pleaded with blue and white leaders to join in a national unity government. Despite the pleas on both sides, Israel's political leaders remain apart. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy?
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts, in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain. Get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Welcome back. The COVID-19 pandemic is hugely affecting air travel across the globe. CBN News contributor Chuck Holton recently took a flight and sent back this report from our empty airports.
Well, if you're going to practice social distancing, here at the airport might be the best place to be right now because, as you can see, this place is a ghost town. And there are a few flights still leaving from here in Reno, Nevada, where I am, but there are very few people on those flights, and many of them are being canceled. Also, as you can see, the stores and shops inside the airport mostly are closed. That's just because there's nobody here to buy anything. So those employees who are still here to keep the airport running are very grateful, the ones that I've talked to, that they can still come to work, but they may not last very much longer.
Of course, if you just came through security checkpoint, please double check your pockets. You might be missing a pair of keys.
My quick flight over the Sierra Mountains left on time, but with very few people on board.
And as we descended into San Francisco, it was clear that normally busy freeways are now almost devoid of traffic. The airlines are losing tens of millions of dollars every day as this shutdown continues. For example, I just landed in San Francisco, and the aircraft I was on had 76 seats, but only 9 passengers, and 5 of those were United employees that were repositioning aircraft or trying to get home before they had more shutdowns. The real question is, how long can this go on? Because if it doesn't have a near end date, it may be the death knell for some airlines. All right, so I made it back to Panama within about 24 hours of them shutting down this airport for the next 30 days. And there are obviously a lot of people trying to get in and trying to get out before that happens. This is definitely unprecedented in Panama. As far as I know, it's never happened before. I don't even think the airport was closed for 30 days during the invasion of Panama. As the number of confirmed cases of the coronavirus rises above 250 in this country, Panama is hoping to contain the outbreak by declaring a nationwide shutdown for the next 30 days. Chuck Holton, CBN News, in quarantine in Panama.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
Finally tonight, the coronavirus is forcing couples across the country to postpone their weddings. But one Arkansas bride decided to make the most of it.
Hi, we're just out. We had a wedding that was canceled, and we're out spreading cheer around town the best we can. So we're picking different neighborhoods and just handing out flowers.
And after the wedding was postponed, the bride decided not to let the flowers go to waste, so she had the florist deliver them across the town, spreading goodwill when so many need it most. Well, that's going to do it for Faith Nation. Have a good one.